Welcome to Behind the Brand, the podcast for small business owners, solopreneurs, and aspiring entrepreneurs who are ready to start strong, stand out, and stay bold. I'm Taylor.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Isabella, and we're part of the powerhouse team of marketers at Moxie Creative.
We're taking you behind the scenes to explore what it takes to build and grow a memorable brand.
Ready to get behind the brand? Let's dive in. Hello, Moxieverse. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Brand. Taylor here, and today I am joined by Kelly and a somewhat reoccurring face on the pod, Michael Nelson, our creative director, website programmer,
Michael,
graphic designer, illustrator extraordinaire.
I heard my last episode was so popular they had to have me back.
come back.
What are we talking about?
Websites?
No, it's case for strong creative. But we are going to talk about websites today.
Oh, yeah, because he has like 3 jobs, so.
He's the jack of all trades,
The utility
wearer of the
player.
hats. Yes,
Yes.
utility player. So today I want to talk about websites and specifically what we do here at Moxie. So it might get a little bit in the weeds. I'm hoping we can stay, decently high level, but specifically what we do here at Moxie, because I want to make the case for WordPress, because Kelly and I,
So what is WordPress?
What-
Let's
well,
not speak jargon. We'll get into that.
We'll get into
Okay.
that. Yep.
Okay.
So Kelly and I, when we're working with clients, people come to us and they say they want us to build a website. And we say, okay, this is how we do it. We explain our process. And then they say, what about Wix? What about Squarespace? And we always make a strong case for WordPress. We will get into what that is. And there's reasons for that. And that's what I want to talk about today. So
Okay.
if someone is curious on the different website platforms to build a site on, they can turn to this episode and know the pick to do. And this kind of came to me because the other day I was listening to some podcast while I was cleaning, and there was a ad that I heard multiple times, and it was for a GoDaddy new AI program, and it was with Walton Goggins, and he's like, oh, I want to build this Walton Goggins goggle glasses business, and I can just do it in 15 minutes, and I can have everything spit out. And we could talk on and on about how AI is not the end all be all, and taking over in a not so positive way, especially for our industry, but we're not going to talk about that today. But just make a case for why you should actually partner with a team and why doing it right off the bat matters, because these little quick fixes to brand your business or build a website are not always the way to go.
So what we're talking about here is WordPress is a content management system that we use. It's not a proprietary platform. It's
Right.
open source. So we use it, but we are doing a website pretty much from scratch. I'll just in general. These other platforms are really DIY platforms to
Yes.
make it easier for people to do their own website. So we never would use Wix or Squarespace by choice.
By choice,
Sometimes,
yes.
though, clients have already done this on their own and they want us to help them fix it.
Right.
And that's where we kind of get into some issues. But the whole purpose of it is to make a website easy for someone to do it themselves. So it's this whole thing where technology has become more accessible, right? So I just wanted to explain that. That's what we're talking about. Okay. And these commercials, are we supposed to know who Walter Goggins is? Or
I don't
no?
know
Is
who
that
Walter Goggins.
Walton.
Well, okay.
Walton Goggins. Yeah, you should know who Walton Goggins is.
No, I don't.
Uncle Baby Billy, White Lotus. He's very in the zeitgeist right now. He's on all the commercials. He's on a Walmart commercial. He's apparently on GoDaddy commercial.
Oh, that actor.
Yeah.
He's an actor. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so that's another thing that kind of, peeved me. This actor who's got millions of dollars is saying, no, you actually don't need a marketing team to help you start your business.
As if
just
he was
use
doing his
AI.
own website.
Exactly. You're telling me he's going to start Walton Goggins goggle glasses on GoDaddy? No, he's not. He's going to hire
Yes.
a team and
Right.
whatever, make a kick-ass brand and website, because duh. So we have Michael here because Michael is the WordPress expert here in our office. There's a few cases that I want to make on why WordPress is the preferred platform for Moxie and should be the preferred platform for any business that wants to be legitimate. The first one being customization. So let's talk about it. Michael, from your perspective, what does that mean? The customization from between WordPress and, say, a DIY builder like Wix or Squarespace?
Well, I was going to go back first and say that, WordPress was started as like a blogging platform, and it was for a user to do it by themselves, just doing simple blogging. And then it became more of a website platform, which was still a lot of people could do it themselves. They'd just load a theme, and it was sort of editable, but not really. It was mostly just you were going to do a blog, and then the blog would populate your website. There wasn't a lot of design elements or the structure of the website you couldn't really change. That's where Wix and stuff has that power
Sure.
where you can move everything around and put it wherever you want.
And when they came into the game, they maybe saw, oh, we can do some different
Yeah.
things to make it easier. Because I will say, yes, WordPress does feel accessible now. And, I work in it. I don't build, but I edit and stuff. But 10 years ago, it actually maybe wasn't as user-friendly as it is now. And that's where Wix and Squarespace entered the game.
That's where we use WordPress as the base of the website. That's what drives it and powers it and puts it out on the web. But we also have Elementor, which is a page builder, which is very similar to what Wix and a GoDaddy site. Most web hosts have their own web building platform. They all claim to be so easy to use, but really not. They're very clunky. And
You, as a website programmer,
yes,
when
struggle
we
with
inherit websites from clients that are built on those platforms and maybe the budget doesn't allow for us to make it, 'cause you can't just transfer a site from Wix or Squarespace. You're building a site from the ground up on WordPress and budget doesn't allow for that. So we just have to deal with what we've inherited and it sucks.
Yeah.
We're going to be honest with you. It's not easy.
It's kind of like they make it so broad and trying to make it so accessible that it makes it unaccessible.
Not able to customize it or anything.
Yeah, or it's almost like too many options sometimes, where like the average user just wants to put their text in there. Well, no, what font do you want? What color? And where does it go? And then you can put things everywhere, so then there's no design structure to it anymore.
Okay.
Well, they do have themes and stuff, but they are so...
Yeah.
You can put things everywhere so people can put everything everywhere, so then everything looks
And then when you get
messy.
when you get into a theme, you can't really break the theme, you are stuck to what that is. And I find, let's just be transparent here. When we do build websites on WordPress, we start with a template. That is the foundation of how we build our websites. But the templates have all of these different options. So you can structure a site with, one page can look different from the
you
next
can
page,
customize it.
where that doesn't necessarily happen. Every site that I've seen that's built on a platform outside of WordPress, every page looks the same. I could look at, Johnny has a business and he has this theme, and Sarah has a business and she has the same exact theme, and it's going to look like the same website.
Yeah, the way we use themes is kind of, again, like a base
Starting
for
place.
our structure,
Yeah.
starting point.
And that helps us keep our costs down.
Yep.
You have the skills to build a site from code, scratch completely, but
Most people don't want to pay that.
most people don't want to
Yeah.
pay that. And then we get to that point of, okay, it's hard for a client to edit it when it's maybe built that way. We have some clients
And
that
that's why we started using WordPress,
Yeah.
is so that the clients could edit it. If we could just go back a little bit, we can talk about when we started working together, Michael. And back in 2009, when I started the agency, clients would come to us and they would say, so-and-so has my website, and they used to work out of their parents' basement. Now they moved to Wisconsin. And I was like, what's with these web developers are so flaky? I think when it became popular, like everybody was just kind of doing it on the side, and then people got their websites done, and then poof, they were gone. So I remember a big selling point was like, hey, we're here, we're not going anywhere, and you do still have access to a lot of websites we did back then. And so that was one selling point. The other one is people didn't want to be held hostage and not be able to access their website. So they wanted to edit it. And I remember back in the day, we would quote it editable or non-editable, because it was we were still doing some HTML sites. We were just straight coding it. And so like even with some clients we have now, they may not want to edit it right now, but they may someday. So we still build it that way.
Yeah.
I also remember we used to estimate mobile or not mobile, but so many things have changed, right?
like, could you imagine building a website that's
Used
not
to-
mobily optimized?
Well, it used to
That's
be
wild.
a whole separate website.
Yeah, right,
It wasn't
right.
responsive.
Yeah.
Right.
It was,
And
yeah.
so it was like paying for another website. Revealing my age. However, some things have not changed, is that people don't want to feel like they are stuck in a contract and they're paying for this website over and over. So there are some of our platforms and competitors that will say, you can only pay me $200 a month, but you're paying it forever and ever and ever. So now you've paid for the website.
And if you stop paying it,
then your website goes
Bye-bye.
down. Yeah.
That's with Wix and Squarespace, you're locked into their
Yeah, you're
platform
kind of
forever.
renting a website
Yeah,
is how I look
exactly.
at it. And so the way we structured it was you pay for your website once, then it's yours. And it's good and can be difficult for some clients because they don't want to pay that investment. But that all came from people not wanting to be tied to an agency or something forever and not feel like they have any control. So I feel like we have the perfect mix where we make it editable, but it's professionally not just designed but written. So technology-wise, that's kind of, we're still using WordPress, and because it's open source, people are always adding to it. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's still one of the most used platforms in the world for websites, and it's it is open source. It's like a free product. It's like a non-profit organization that runs it, but they're constantly updating it. And since it's open source, it's open to people all over the world to improve on. So it's constantly improving and updating security features. And then there's just an overwhelming amount of plugins and add-ons.
Yeah,
That's what I love.
Yeah, me too.
If there's something you want to do, there's
Somebody has
plugins
made it,
developed.
and then they've made it open source too. Like
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
developers improve it and then donate it back to
Yeah.
WordPress.
Which
For-
it saves us time and it saves our clients
Right.
money, where we can get something that exists.
For an agency like ours, where we're working with so many different businesses, that is huge, because what one client might need, another client will not need. And, we might get a client that has a very particular situation, and I think of like the barrel mill. They had a really particular situation of all these things that, needed to connect to the site when we're talking about the store, that needed to connect to the site to make the way that they were running their business. Like, they don't want to have to change everything.
Inventory
Yeah.
and
And
things.
because we use WordPress, we were able to find all the necessary plugins that fit in with their current technology that they were using
I can
at
remember.
their
Right.
physical location.
I can remember when we necessarily couldn't add shopping carts to WordPress. We had to go to like a Shopify or a BigCommerce. Then WordPress got shopping carts, and we're like, we can get both. But yeah, just weird things. What I like to say when we're talking about costs and things is that as technology has gotten better and people want to use the websites more, it's become more complicated on the back end. Like the programming's doing a lot, like, because people expect it. We've had clients say, well, the Target website does this. Well, do you know how much Target invests
Yeah,
in the
right.
website, type of thing? But that stuff's all, they see it and they want it, right? So then there's these different plugins that do it, and you can, all the stuff is pretty accessible. However, I would say prices have come down. Like, we used to charge more for websites than we do now because of these DIY platforms. But the work hasn't gotten any easier at
No.
all. And I think what people get misled about is that, yes, these platforms are a little packaged programming thing that gives you the technology to get a website up, but you still don't know. Most clients still struggle with, what do I put on my website? It has no design.
Right.
It's ugly. It doesn't work. I can't do SEO. I know we're going to get to all of those
Yeah.
things. But for me, still, of doing this for 30 years, even I've bought a lot of domain names for businesses in this community. First one in the 90s, and done first websites and many iterations of websites for clients. And it's the same. They
think-
need our help more than just the technology.
Right, exactly.
They
It's not
need our help on what to put on a website.
Yeah, it's not just the building of the site. It's the whole site in general. I mean, Michael and I both have been kind of working with a client a little bit hands off, but they couldn't afford to have us do a website for them, which we understand. And so they went and quickly popped up a website on Wix, and guess what? They aren't happy with it. And so they've been consulting with me on my thoughts, and I'm suggesting some changes. And some of them they can make, some of them they can't. They don't really love the user experience. And it's like, these are all things that could have been mitigated through a full website build with a team that knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. So we talked about this one time too, is that you're kind of renting the website on the platforms, right, Michael? You
Yeah.
don't own it. And
Not kind of, you are.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if they're down, you're down. Mm-hmm. Or if they go away, what was that? Was it 23andMe or it's the competitor
Ancestry.com is,
Yeah,
23andMe. Yeah.
Didn't they go out of business or something? And then they have all your DNA and all your data whatever, that's gone. Wix could go away. GoDaddy could go away, or we don't know, or they're just down and your stuff is down. It's always better to own.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for a lot of things in marketing, we talk to clients about, okay, you own your email list. No, you don't own your social media platforms. Instagram is down. That's your only way that you're trying to communicate with people. And like, that sucks, so owning as much as you can when it comes to your business and these marketing assets, it's just a smart move to make.
And then when clients, we just want to jump up and down when they say they can't afford it, but they'll end up spending more money and time and resources trying to fix one of those, what we call dumb little websites.
Yeah.
And it's just not giving them, those websites, you can't really get into the code to help with search engine optimization. So we'll have people come to us and say, we just want to use you for SEO. And it's like, you're going to have to redo your website.
Yeah.
We can't.
A lot of
You're
those
stuck.
like Wix and Squarespace are built to drive SEO for Wix and Squarespace because everything is. Edit that out.
Keeping that in, by the way.
On their platform, so it just naturally, with linkage and everything, goes back to them. And then like some people don't even know where their domain is, or where they're hosting, or what those things are.
Right.
So it's like you have a domain as like the address of your website, like www.moxiecreative.com. That's your domain, and that tells people, or it tells the World Wide Web where to go to get your content, and that's your hosting, and that's where your website lives. And that's, while we rent that hosting space, they can take their files at any time and go anywhere else.
Right.
And it's backed up.
Yes, we use very reliable hosting that backs up
Double, triple
3
backed
times a
up.
day, I think,
Yeah.
at different times of the day.
Right.
And then we always have access to that, so if anything goes wrong, we can
And
restore that website.
And if it goes down, it's a direct call to us, and we,
Yep.
I
And
don't think
it's
we've hardly ever had anything go down. Ever.
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually, in my 4 years of working with you, that I've ever had a website go down unless we take it down.
If you don't pay your bills. I think one time we had a security thing. Somebody was getting hammered by spam bots or something, and it was just a momentary
Yeah.
lapse.
I think the host took it down on purpose so it stopped getting hacked.
Yes, it didn't go down. That was taken down.
Yeah, sure.
Back in the day, we used to get the calls on the weekends a little bit more. I think we had a different host back then. Or maybe there was different security measures back in the Wild West. But
Yeah, that stuff's all come a very long way in the last. How long's it been? 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to go back, Kelly, to the, I know we keep saying this, you're renting your site, you don't own it. And then you made mention, like, you'll spend more money in the long run. When we build a site on WordPress, yes, you have your annual hosting fee, but that's the only thing that after the build that you have to pay for us. If you are using a platform, you're paying a monthly subscription for whatever they're doing. And a lot of times that can be a lot more than what that annual hosting fee is. So there's a lot of things to look at.
It's like a payment. It's a payment plan, and so people, it's more accessible. I get it when you're showing
But it's
your
not
business.
a payment plan because you're going to be paying it forever.
Well, I was going to say, but there's no payoff.
Yeah.
date. Yes. But it's more accessible, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't have $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pay $200 forever. The sad thing is, you never get to take it with you.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
you want to change it. You can't even take what you have and improve on it. You are starting over. And so we're not saying that we never rebuild websites. But the nice thing about WordPress is it can be built upon, right?
Yes,
It can
yes.
expand with you. And you mentioned that
Absolutely.
with the plugins. We add shopping. I mean, we did a couple years ago, we did maybe only a year ago, we did a website for a client. They weren't ready to do the e-commerce part. A year later, okay, then we took on the e-commerce part. They want to start holding classes, we can add a calendar. They can have events, we can have reservations. I mean, there's just so many different things that can expand with you. And if you keep maintaining your website, it can grow with you. Now, there are some people who just set it and forget it.
Yeah.
And then the code gets old and you should rebuild it.
Yes.
So I'm not saying you never have to rebuild
We've
it.
had a lot of clients with issues like that. Like
Yeah.
they didn't update their website in 7 years, and they're like, things aren't working anymore. It's like, all these back end things haven't been updated in 7 years.
Yeah.
They're out of date.
And I tell people this, especially if I'm estimating a website and it's part of an annual marketing plan, you might not have to budget that much every year, but please budget something for your website every year because it should be some improvements made. But I think there's a website we did like 8 years ago. We just added a payment portal to it.
Yeah.
And the website's still good and it's still working.
Yeah,
And, so it's expandable. And when we do rebuild it or need to rebuild it, we can take what we've learned from it, and apply it. Like I said, this stuff is gone. When it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
And you're
I
starting
think-
all over.
That was a WordPress site, so it's all some of the technology.
Yeah.
I usually go in and update plugins when I'm in there doing anything else.
Yeah.
Just for security reasons. But then our host also will update WordPress
Oh.
automatically too.
Nice.
We work with a lot of new businesses. And, if we're talking like brand website, I mean, it can be $15,000 to get things off the ground with your marketing. And it is an investment, and we understand that, and we don't take that investment lightly. But, WordPress can build with you. So especially for these new businesses, they maybe don't know what the full direction of their business is going to be. So having a solid foundation that can be buildable and we can expand on in that digital space is really important, because where you started may be completely different to where you are, a year from now. So having a platform like WordPress that can grow with you as you grow is,
and we try to shout that
Yeah.
the rooftops, but
doesn't always work, but
no, sometimes they're like, oh, I already started one on Wix and I already paid for it, so I'm going to do it. Okay. And I'm like, no, please don't.
I always
Okay.
think about like the website is such an important touch point for your clients, and it makes you look like a legitimate business that you would want to put money into that. Like,
right.
put a budget behind that. And also, like, as a business owner, do you really want to spending your nights and weekends futzing around with Wix.com?
Yeah. We've
Like-
talked to so many business owners, and they're like, hire out for the things you don't know how to do.
So yeah, that's really kind of is frustrating for me, especially because marketing is a bona fide business expense, meaning it is
Yeah.
tax deductible. And when you do a marketing plan or a business plan and you get a loan from the bank, if you do, they require you to have a marketing plan.
Yep.
But no, they'll go spend all their money on the equipment for the business, and someone somewhere has told them you can do the marketing yourself. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. But there's other people that get it, and they do come to us. But yeah, a 2-page website on WordPress is better than anything
Right.
on something else.
Right, because we can build that out.
Yes, and we've talked to clients about that. And we've had clients come back, okay, now I'm ready to expand on it. Now I'm ready to expand. And we can piece it out that way. That works. But again, we're talking about the platforms and the technology. Most people just don't know what to put on their website. And they don't understand from the SEO standpoint. They don't understand from a user experience standpoint. They don't even know what they're doing in their business
Yeah.
yet, and they can't write it either. And so that one client that you're talking about consulting, you're just like, you need words on your homepage,
Yeah.
or Google does not see you. And like, well,
They
what
didn't
do
even
I
have
write?
how do I get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Michael, that's funny because I remember the day when we would like, let's start putting phone numbers at the top, even if it's not a store, because people are frustrated. Why are
Yeah.
you making me
Actually,
go
what
to
they're
the
there
contact
for.
page to
Yeah.
find the phone
Right.
number or the address?
Yeah.
And now it's all clickable and all that. But I remember that it was like, let's just put the phone number up there because in a way, every website's shopping.
Right.
Something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole goal of a website, is to break down barriers for your customers.
Yeah.
So they know exactly what you're doing and then how they can get a hold of you. That's how I always approach a website, especially when we're talking about like the homepage. Like everything that they need to know should be, we should be able to figure it
One
out from
click.
right there. Yeah.
No more rabbit holes.
Yeah.
You're making me click 2 or 3 times, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is part of your user experience. And I'm sorry, but if you don't work in websites all the time,
You don't know that.
You don't know that. You don't understand what that is. You do understand what pisses you off, though. I mean, just think of my husband. Like, I could never be like, hey, Tyler, can you build me this website? I actually did make a comment to him the other day, and he's like, I built a website in Wix once. Like, he had to do something for college. And I'm like, okay, no, you didn't. Like, stop. Like, no. But he is on the internet a lot looking at websites, and he's like, "What? This is so dumb. I just want to figure out how I can call this person." And I'm like, yeah, shitty user experience. Like, it matters.
Well, I feel like some companies do that on purpose so you won't call.
Yeah.
Like, I believe you cannot call PayPal because I've tried.
Oh, that's absolutely.
You know what I
PayPal,
mean?
Google,
Good.
that kind of
Amazon.
They are very-
actually, Amazon does make it pretty easy.
They're burying the phone
Yeah,
number.
yeah. Then you have to Google what's the phone number for PayPal. Is
Yeah.
what you have to do.
But that's part of like $15,000 sounds like a lot of money, but
Yeah.
that's part of what the investment is in our
That's a big
expertise and
website
our
for us, by the way.
That
That's
is-
not a-
that's
yeah.
very
Yeah.
huge. That's not
We're
standard
pretty-
at
yeah.
all.
Yeah. I meant like the whole branding and a website.
Yes, yeah, that's what you said. That's
I'd
right.
say 8,000.
Come to us for $1,000. We'll build you a
We're the
website.
cheapest
No.
marketing company ever. Yeah.
Just kidding.
We're
But
pretty
yes,
fair with our
the
price.
user
Yes, yes, yes.
experience, and also like we spend a lot of time working on websites, doing websites, reading about websites. Well, okay, I do. I'm a nerd, and that's part of my job.
Yeah, right.
And so I know like the trends and the things to do to make it accessible. And that's like you want everything to be easy. Not only what is it, user experience and user interface. You want the interface to be easy to use, and then have an enjoyable experience.
And then we make it look good too.
Well, you
But-
gotta have that.
Right.
Otherwise, that's the first thing. If a website looks like crap, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right? But some people think, the function is more important, and it's not. They equally, we talk about this
Right.
a
Yeah.
lot, the function and the creative.
Yep.
But I think especially what you guys do is the writing. I mean, if people don't know if they're on your homepage and they don't know what you offer, you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
And I've been on those websites.
And, when we have clients or, people that come to us and they end up not working with us on their website and they build their own and then they go to write it, you can tell that they don't know how to explain what they do.
no,
Very
because
easily.
they're not writers.
Right.
And that's what we do. Okay, let's talk about AI real quick.
Okay.
We've been helping a client editing their website, and we can just tell that another agency or whoever used AI to write these things, and it's saying nothing.
Right.
It's not explaining anything. And then going back to the client, like, well, what do you do? And what do you mean, what do you do? It's all very salesy, like, call us and we'll fix your, we have the solution for your problem and and you'll never, and it's like, you never said what you do.
Right.
So people say, well, I don't need Taylor. I don't need you to write my website. I'm just going to use AI.
Yeah.
Well, it's only as good as the prompts. But also Google is starting to recognize AI written content and dinging you big time. And so AI is not end all be all either.
No, it's not. Just like anything else, it's a tool. It is only as good as the prompts that you're putting in. And I think that to use AI well, like especially if you're going to use it for copywriting, like you need to know what makes good copy. Everything that spits out, you need to be able to edit and make it sound like that client.
And it doesn't mean it's true. Because I've done some prompts. I'm like, well, that's not true.
Yeah, exactly.
They're misinterpreting things. It's just
I like to lump AI in with Wix and Squarespace and
Right.
Canva for design. It's a tool. It's accessible. It provides accessibility for people that anybody can do it, but
it's not expertise.
it's not expertise. It's
Ooh,
not.
I like that.
Just because you can use Canva to make it doesn't mean it's going to look good.
Right.
We can start seeing, oh, that's a Canva template.
Yeah.
That's AI written. We're just, and the whole thing about marketing is to stand out from the crowd and to be different.
And I'm not an elitist or anything like, oh, it's great that people, like individuals have access to these things.
Yeah.
Democratizing a creative process, sure, but what you're creating is just hollow and meaningless, so what's the point?
Right. And so it just, when businesses are frustrated, especially small businesses that maybe entered the website space that way, and they come to us, they're frustrated, it's kind of a bummer for us to say, well, you shouldn't have done any of that. You should have come to us before.
Yeah.
But it's the truth. There's sometimes we
And
can't
we're
help
not.
them.
And when we say that to people, it's not coming from a place of we think we're superior. It's just being legitimate, and we have dedicated our careers to figuring out what works and what doesn't. So we can tell you that, that was not a smart decision, and it sucks. Like it probably feels like a punch in the gut.
Yeah. Kick in the teeth, punch in the gut.
Yeah,
To
Sucker
talk about
punch.
it, like people can do their own plumbing, but
But should you?
should you?
Yeah.
Like once you've messed it up so bad and you have a plumber
Right.
come, like I probably should have called you
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
Like, don't you trust them to?
Yeah,
then,
and maybe
that's what I think.
if you do screw stuff up, don't call your plumber and be like, "Okay, I'm gonna fix it. Like, can you just tell me over
just
the
tell
phone
me
what
how
I
to
should
do
do?"
it.
Like, it's got to be pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
But I think that's the saddest thing about, the technology part. Because, I'm old enough to know that when I worked with graphic designers, when I was in college and I worked for my college, the graphic designer stood at a drawing table and she drew everything. I was learning in college, computers and design and stuff, but that wasn't really the...
type out by hand and lay it
Yeah,
out.
yep.
I'm not that old. I know what's
Yeah. Well, you're only 5 years behind me. However, it became more accessible, so everybody thought that they could do it, everything.
Yeah.
So as that's progressed, now it's even, I would say it's maybe less than, oh, it's a tool. It's more like you should be doing this yourself.
Right.
Why would you spend money on
Why
that?
would-
What a waste of money. You buy it, spend it on your equipment, do your own marketing.
That's
And
like,
that
yeah,
just really bothers me because back in the day, you had to use an agency or a printer to even have a logo file.
Yeah.
I just think it's good that you can do some of the stuff yourself, but then it's also bad.
Yeah.
I used to tell my uncle, they both own a bar restaurant, he would be like screwing around with the toilet or like retiling the bathroom and like, how much do you think you would pay yourself an hour, like to run this business? $100 an hour? Now, is that worth that for doing the tiling?
Yeah.
You could pay somebody else to do that for cheaper and then spend more time working on the business
Right.
instead of futzing around with things that you're not an
But as a
expert
business
at.
owner, don't spend money.
Yeah, you're just trying to save a buck, but in the long run, it's just going to cost you money because it wasn't done right or
Exactly.
beefed up the plumbing.
Yeah.
But they're really good at fixing stuff. So they've saved me money fixing my heaters. So not bad.
So I'll take that back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it's hard for people to understand the cost of marketing and websites because maybe they don't understand it. And it's not like they're trying to be rude to us.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
They just don't get it.
Yeah.
kind of an intangible service where you don't, like, especially a website, it just exists in the cloud. It's not
Yeah.
a thing you can hold. Like, I spent money on this. It's like,
And, I talk about this all the time, and I've written about it and whatever. Like, I just hate when people come to us and they say the word simple. Like, yeah, your website should be simple.
Yeah.
But
That's
that
not-
doesn't mean it was simple to make.
yes.
Exactly. That was my
Yes.
point. As the navigation, everything has become simple. It's more complicated on the
Right.
back end.
Yeah.
I think Nate told me that once.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of pre-thought that goes into it before we start putting down anything on
Yeah.
the website.
There's so much work that happens before it even gets to Michael. You start out with a sitemap, and then it comes back to me, and then it goes to you, and then it's back to me, and then it's to the client. There's a lot of hours and time that goes into that. So as much as I love talking on and on about websites, and I feel like we said a lot, and maybe we said nothing at all. I don't know. We'll
Made
let
sense to us, though.
let
I
the
didn't even
listeners
get
be
to
the
talk about
judge.
HTML
Yeah.
or anything. Databases.
That's in the weeds.
Jargon.
Nobody
Jargon.
ever wants to
Dazzle
hear
me
talk
with your
about it.
jargon, Michael.
I would love to ask each of you just one kind of ending question. What do you feel like is the most important thing on a website?
Should I go
Sorry,
first?
should I give you
Sure,
the
go
question
ahead.
before?
Like specifically,
Yeah, just like one thing that you feel like this is the most important thing.
I can't just say content.
No, you can. That's
well,
fine.
that's weird. Your contact information. I mean, also, okay, maybe I'll go backwards. I think right away you need to explain what you do. In the first, I hate that. I don't.
Yeah.
The writing is too vague. I think it needs really direct. Of this is what we do and this is how we can help you.
Yeah. So like you're talking like in your header.
Header and
hero.
the first body of copy.
Okay.
If I don't know, then I'm just so frustrated. I don't know. And I feel like that comes with some of that vague, salesy writing
Yeah.
AI stuff.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
That's
So-
a lot of the like plugins and WordPress sites that'll go on. They're so vague. It's like, what am I buying exactly?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
like they're selling to me, but what are you selling
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. What does this actually do?
We've got the perfect solution for you. Well,
Yeah.
what is it?
What is it?
Stop leading me on.
I mean, I think it's different depending on the website. I mean, a contact form, of course, some way to get a hold of you. I like, if it's a local company or a smaller company, I like to see pictures of the people. 'Cause
Yes.
It really, like, these are real people doing a legitimate thing. They're not just somebody
Yeah.
in Bangladesh
yeah, real
stealing my information.
and real pictures, not stock photography.
Some people, we've had many people, Michael, say, but we're small, but we're a small company, but we do big things, and I don't want people to think that we're small. I'm like, you don't have to say this is every single person that works here. Here's the leadership team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
your whole team, but just that somebody is there. And what we find on Google Analytics is that our team page is one of the most visited pages because people want to know who they're working with. And we work with mostly small companies, so people are a good thing. Do you want to be PayPal and I can't find you ever?
Yeah. I think, and I actually just saw a post about this on LinkedIn the other day, and I'm like, wow, that's so true. I think your footer, I think it's a very often overlooked piece of your website, and it's on every single page.
That's funny because that footer stuff comes up a lot in SEO, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
that's what I was going to say. It for your SEO purposes can have so much information. So having,
Now
your-
they want a descriptor of what you're doing.
yeah,
and-
like having a strong descriptor kind of goes back to, what
like
you
it's its
said.
own little website.
Yeah, what you said about the header or the hero, like saying exactly what you do, or that first piece of body copy, like putting something that's really straightforward in your footer, having easy, accessible, quick links. I always love to add those in there. So if someone's at your footer, they can get to whatever page they need to on your website, putting your social icons in there, just really beefing up that footer. Like, don't just have your, some sites I've just seen like, okay, they just have their logo in the footer. Like, that's not doing you a huge disservice.
Well, some people don't have time and they're scrolling right down to the footer to
Right,
get the contact
right,
information.
right. Yeah, having your contact information. If you're a store, having your business hours in there. It's just a really valuable piece of real estate when it comes to your
like
website,
that.
and
I like
people, I
your
think,
answer.
That's a good
overlook
point.
that.
And yeah, Google's like rating that higher and
Yeah.
higher now too, like it's a necessity.
Yeah.
And that goes into what we talked about earlier, how you're not just paying for our website, you're paying for our expertise.
Right.
That we stay up to date on these things.
Right.
And
Yeah.
who would The
Yeah,
average
so when
person isn't
people-
going to think of that.
Yeah, right.
What's new in websites? We could say a footer.
Footer. Yeah, that's sexy.
A well thought out footer.
Awesome. Well, wonderful, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this slightly chaotic, all over the place episode. But I mean, that wouldn't be a Moxie episode
Without it.
Yeah, without it. So anyway, if you're out there listening, you can clearly tell that there is a lot that goes into a website. And these website builders out there can promise really quick and easy solutions, but it's not always the right fit. And most of the time, it's not. So if you are building a business and you want it to last and you want your assets to be an asset and not a subscription and something that grows with you, WordPress is the way to go for your website, and working with a team that understands that and values getting your message across in a clear, relatable way that will actually drive conversions is really important. And that's exactly what we do here at Moxie. So if this episode got your wheels churning and you're currently in a toxic relationship with your website platform, send us a message. We would be happy to talk with you.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Behind the Brand. If you liked this episode, share it with a friend. If you didn't, share it with an enemy, and make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To stay connected, follow us. Links to our socials are in the show notes below.